Hello, Mr. Minnick, helping CompSci 101 students submit programs with better style. Here we have a situation where I'm typing a Hello World program, uh, similar to what we have to memorize for quizzes in this course. And just because something compiles and executes doesn't mean that you're going to get full credit for that program. You do need a certain amount of good style with your code so that other people, as well as yourself, can make easy sense of your code and update it and just be more proud of their work. So here is a nice Hello World program. And while this would still work, not having spaces around the output operators, if you read my lecture notes, that right there, the two less than symbols, that together is called the output operator. And when I run this program, it still looks good in the output screen. Hello World with a space in between. But I, as an instructor and as a coder, prefer that you put spaces around operators. And the output operator is an operator. As a whole, that's an operator. So I prefer spaces there. So in general, your code is more readable and your output looks good too. Often, you don't need these blank lines in your source code. Again, I emphasize the program still looks good on the output where the customer or the user would see it. But even though they don't see the code, I do and your coworkers do. This is hard to read, especially without that space. And if you don't have comments like your name at the top, and sometimes some other things are required as comments, this is horrible code. It's not documented very well, and it still runs and looks good on the output, but again, I emphasize it's going to lose points as an assignment. In fact, these two statements in the body of the main function, they're two separate statements, and as you see, they each end with semicolons. Just like two sentences in English with each end with punctuation, such as periods or question marks. This would still work if you moved the return 0 up to the same line of source code, even though it is still two statements. You could even put some spaces in here, and it's still two statements that just happen to be typed on the same line of code. It still runs, still executes. There are no errors other than formatting style errors. I don't like code like this. We call that obfuscated code. Some people do this on purpose, but they would lose points. And I could even collapse all of that to one line of code, one line of, output, this much of it right here at least. Actually, I think I can bring it up here to make a point. All of that is on one line of code, as you see. And when I click run, we still see Hello World out here with no evidence on the outside world that the source code in here looks so poor. Interestingly, because that's a compiler directive, you cannot move using namespace up there. Even if you wanted to, you get error messages, but who would want to do this anyway? Not me. Okay, putting Humpty Dumpty back together again here. Notice when I hit the enter key on the keyboard, it automatically indents there. It's kind of nice. This Replit website does that for you. I like a blank line above return 0. I did notice at Replit, you don't even need return 0. It still runs. But because of this int, and we will learn what that means later in the course, I still do prefer that you have return 0. Another common mistake that students make early in the course at least is that they do not indent their C++ code consistently. Again, I emphasize this runs. It looks good here on the output side, but this is not good because cout is indented further than return 0, even though they're in a sense equivalent as two body statements inside the main function. You don't really have to indent the code that's inside the body of the main function. The body is the area in between the curly braces there, but that's bad style. So we indent. I prefer that you use, at least this semester, when I'm videotaping this video, Currently, the website Replit that I'm using, repl.it, sets you up in the settings area of your account. You're set up with 2 spaces as your indent size, so let's stick with that and not change it, so that whenever you hit tab, it moves in 2 spaces. Other mistakes, some people put something inside here. They put, I don't know, they put like arg s or something in there. I don't like that in these examples. Let's keep the main parentheses there empty. Some people put the word void there and it still works. If you didn't have return 0, it might still compile and work. Nope. The people at Replit, on the Replit server, they require int. So even if you got away with that in another college class or in high school or maybe on your job, I prefer return 0 and I prefer the word int to be there. You might see out on the internet or even at Replit, some people type in std : there, in which case they don't need using namespace standard. This will run, it will work if I typed it correctly. Right now it's not running correctly. And you would need std : endl there, as well as this cout. It looks good out here, but I don't like the standard namespace with that scope specifier. We don't even study in this course the double colon, if you will. So I would rather kill 2 birds with 1 stone by simply putting this line of code up here once and done. Then you don't need separate, you don't need to use the word or the phrase std all the time. So there you go. That's some formatting issues that you might want to address early on in this course. Keep your spaces in there, indent nicely, put nice blank lines in every once in a while to separate areas of your code. And don't forget your name at the top. And sometimes I actually specified additional content up in the documentation header at